Namaste, and welcome to the presentation of my paper, Moronic Substitutions, Translations, Expressions, and Practices done by today's Hindu practitioners. My name is Aakarshan Kumar, and I am from Irving, Texas. The contents of this presentation will include an introduction, the harm caused by equating Sanskrit words to English ones, benefits of resisting moron smritis, examples of moron smritis, such as distortions in phrases, words, and practices, and finally, to wrap up, a conclusion. For a more detailed narrative on this topic, please reference my paper. Young Hindus are often lost and confused with what to believe due to the distortions that have crept into everyday usage of words and expressions. Some of these changes are positive, but many others have the potential to distract and confuse a practicing Hindu from following their dharma and retaining their identity. This distortion especially affects younger Hindus. It also confuses non-Hindus that want to adopt Hinduism as their new religion and identity. One researcher has termed Hindus' adoption of these distorted words, expressions, and practices as moron smritis. So, what is the harm caused by equating Sanskrit words to English ones? Some problems that occur from this mistranslation are trivialization of dharmic concepts, reduction of words with many meanings to a one-dimensional meaning, inculturation of key Hindu concepts, distortion of the deep meanings of Sanskrit words and phrases, and loss of experiential meaning of the word. Sanskrit is verb-based, and translating its words into a noun-based language like English further distorts the meaning and renders the mapping to be useless. The result of this mistranslation is radical universalism, caused by our concepts getting digested into the West's framework without preserving their unique identity. By resisting these moron smritis, many benefits are reaped, such as protection of the integrity and experiential component of Sanskrit words, resistance of colonization and cultural conquest, and safeguarding of valuable Vedic knowledge. Many modern day phrases are actually examples of moron smritis. These phrases are YOLO, you only live once, and in Hindu philosophy, it clearly states that our true identity is our Atman. And our Atman will go through reincarnation, the cycle of birth and rebirth, many times before it will be evolved enough to attain moksha and escape this cycle. Our material body, that is the temporary abode for our Atman in this life, is not our true identity. Hence, to adopt and internalize YOLO goes against the basic tenets of Hinduism. RIP. This phrase is used very commonly, and it actually very much goes against the key concepts of Hinduism. The end state of a person upon death is very different in Hinduism than in Christianity or in other religions. Abrahamic religions believe in only one life and hence strive for heaven or peace in their afterlife. There is an eternal sorrow and lack of peace for those souls that are determined on Judgment Day to not be worthy of a place in heaven. But Hinduism, through its Vedas, repeatedly states that our Atman or individual consciousness is indestructible, and following the laws of karma and phal continues its journey from one life to another. The Atman is divine and will not face wrath in hell if it does not meet a certain criteria. And the Atman is also not going to rest in peace till some judgment day. Rather, it will take rebirth in another body and travel towards a higher consciousness in its next manifestation until it finally attains moksha. It will also merge with the divine consciousness when it attains moksha. Hinduism is monotheistic slash polytheistic, and this is a huge misconception. It's cultural chauvinism for the West to apply these two labels to Hinduism. And at least Hindus should not propagate these inappropriate labels to Hinduism. Instead of saying that there are many gods, Vedic thought says everything is God, and that the divine consciousness permeates the whole universe and all the things in it. And that's very different from the monotheism in Western thought. Hinduism theology also doesn't meet the definition of polytheism, since polytheism, by definition, requires one to believe multiple, unequal, competing, distinct gods that do not participate in or recognize divinity in each other. Whereas in Hinduism, there's a clear unity of the divine, and all the devtas are manifestations of the supreme reality, Brahman. There aren't many gods, there are many ways to look at God. All religions are the same. This is a belief propagated by confused Hindus. It's rare for other religions to equate their religions with Hinduism. The concept of time, infinite and cyclic in Hinduism, versus finite and linear in Abrahamic religions. The concept of origin of the universe and of the individual Atman. The presence or absence of a soul or Atman in ants and plants, animals and plants. The destination of a soul or Atman upon death. The criteria used to evaluate souls or Atman upon death. The nature of the divine. And many other things are all polar opposites in Hinduism and Abrahamic religions. Therefore, calling all religions the same is a large misconception made by modern day Hindus. A large contributor to the misinterpretation of Hindu concepts and the distortion is in the distortion of Sanskrit words. And there are many examples of these distortions, such as mantra. A mantra is not a slogan or words to live by, such as her mantra was to enjoy life to the fullest, or the candidate's mantra of change was very powerful. Rather, a mantra is a short, mystical utterance of great sacred power, as illustrated by the greatest of all mantras, Om, Guru. And this word is often associated with teacher, but a teacher is a person who imparts domain skills as a profession. Perhaps the Sanskrit equivalent of a teacher is acharya. A guru, however, is an evolved person who is capable of dispelling the darkness of ignorance in his shishya or disciple. However, in contemporary English usage, the word guru has gained widespread currency as a catch-all term for a skilled professional, which isn't what the Sanskrit word guru embodies. Murti. The English translation of murti is loaded with negative stereotypes and connotations, and demonization of idols from the perspective of Abrahamic traditions, which regard worship of idols as idolatry and a cardinal sin. The Abrahamic traditions therefore authorize and condone violence against idol worshippers. On the other hand, the Sanskrit word murti means awakened, real, and expressive of the divine spirit. In the Sanatan Dharma tradition, murtis are infused with pran pratish, a ritual where the murti is infused with the sacred presence or pran, divine presence. Avatar. An avatar is not only a computer user's self-representation in a 3D model for computer games or a 2D icon for internet communities. It's an incarnation of God. Lingam. Lingam is grossly mistranslated as the phallus, and this, unfortunately, has emerged as the normative and mainstream perception of this word in the essentially Hindu-phobic Western discourse. However, lingam has a spectrum of connotations that also include sign, mark, spot, token, badge, emblem, and even gender. There are many Sanskrit words that have been grossly mistranslated, such as kavya being translated to poetics, Anand being translated to bliss, seva being translated to service, and as you can see, many other words. But not only are there word distortions, also distortions in our practices. Some of these practices are blowing candles on a birthday. For a religion whose oldest book, the Rig Veda, starts with an oblation to Agni, the blowing of the candle is dead against the basic tenets of Hinduism. When our prayers say, "Lead me from darkness to light," blowing out a candle to symbolically go from light to darkness is counterintuitive and misguided. Putting murtis of other gods in our mandirs, while respecting others and their religions, is a sign of pluralism and is perfectly fine. Worshipping the gods of other religions is the same as equating all religions. This universalism is misplaced, broad-mindedness at its best. The religions are not the same at most levels. Their core tenets are different. Like the Hindu belief of the divine being all-pervasive and transcendental would be considered blasphemous in Abrahamic religions. Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am Brahman, would be a severely punishable sacrilegious act. The end state of an Atman in Hinduism does not remotely resemble the end state in other religions. The concept of time is cyclic in Hinduism, and in Christianities and others, it's purely linear. Incorrect application of ahimsa, which goes against the dictates of the Vedas. After India's independence, many Hindus have misunderstood Gandhi's adoption of nonviolence. Gandhi was merely suggesting that peaceful protest be used as much as possible in place of violent protest. But Vedic philosophy contains suggestions of picking up arms and using violence as a mean of preventing greater violence and injustice. With the world getting small, Hindu words, expressions, practices, and many others have undergone a major change. Sanskrit words are used incorrectly in English usage, and Hindus have adopted expressions that are contrary to their core tenets. Incorrect practices, contrary to the ethos of the Hindu civilization, which is many millennia old, crept in. An awareness of these should be studied, and harmful substitutions should be discussed and avoided. And as can be seen, many words, translations, phrases, practices have crept into Hinduism, which distorts the meaning and the intended practices in a very harmful way. In fact, some of the words from Sanskrit have been used in English with a much narrower and distorted meaning. This harms some of the key concepts of Hindu philosophy and their understanding. For now, further research and efforts needs to be done on identifying more of these moronic words, expressions, and practices, documentation and content creation to educate Hindus about the proper ways to communicate and practice Hinduism, and to Sanskritize key words in English instead of continuing to map English words to Sanskrit one and distorting them.